Been up opportunists, I can't salute it. They raising red flags instead of raising solutions. I'm trying to do what's best for me. Okay, right hands on the wall because it's destiny. First time I own, but right hand man ain't nothing left for me. I left.
What's good, everybody on YouTube? This is your boy Akil McLeod back with another video, and today I'm going to share some of the shoes that I picked up over these past couple of days from Marshalls, a few different Ross locations, and Nordstrom Rack. Now, right now I'm living in Arizona, and a lot of the retail stores have opened up, and the first couple of days that they opened up, of course, they offered huge discounts. Everything in Ross was either red tagged or some of them were like deeply discounted. And the same thing for Marshalls and same thing for Ross. So I'm going to give you guys some hints and some tips on what to do when some of the stores in your different markets begin to open up. Thankfully, Arizona was one of the first markets to open up, so I got a head start. But of course, I'm just going to share some of the shoes that I actually did pick up, because as you guys know, the shelves behind me, this whole room was stocked to the ceilings with tons and tons of inventory. And of course, since with quarantine, I wasn't able to source new stuff. So sales were pretty good during this time. But of course, it started to take a dip because I was just literally running out of inventory. So I'll show you guys where I was at before in terms of inventory. I'll probably throw in a quick pic so you guys can see the shoes were actually stacked up to the ceiling. And now, of course, I'll do a quick little run through and show you guys what the room is looking like right now. As you guys can see, the shelves behind me are definitely not as packed as they used to be. These shoes, a lot of the shoes sold out. So thankfully, you know, we were still making some decent money during this whole quarantine time, but for the most part, this room is definitely not as stacked as it used to be. A lot of these bins, especially some of these black bins, they were all full of shoes, especially the ones with no labels. They were all full of shoes, but now they're literally completely empty. So I was starting to get a little nervous, thinking hopefully some of these stores start to open back up so I can eventually, you know, recoup some of this inventory and start making some more money. And thankfully, since the stores opened, we were able to do that. So let me show you guys some of the shoes that we got. Some of the shoes, most of these came from Marshalls, that's why these are in the box. Some came from Nordstrom Rack as well. We got some dope Air Max Pluses in here. In terms of price points, I spent anywhere between $2.99 for some of these shoes and as much as like 35 bucks. Everything was super discounted though. Here we got some shoes from Ross. A lot of these shoes were some shoes that were literally just sitting forever at one point or another, but of course, since they closed down, they literally opened back a lot. Now this particular pair of shoes right here, I actually purchased these shoes once before for 35 bucks and I was selling them for about 90. I picked up 4 or 5 pairs of these for 10 bucks each. So that's going to be easy money to be made right there. I think the flood of those are actually going right now too. So I might actually be able to make some decent profit. You got a ton of different baseball cleats up here. I remember at one point in Raw, some of these cleats were selling for as much as $24, $25. You see on the tag here, these are $10.99. I spent $2.99 for some of these other ones on here. So the discounts were insane. A lot of these baseball cleats, they're not going to sell for a ton of profit, but since I picked them up for $2.99, some as much as $10.99, I'll easily sell them for 50 bucks. A lot of shoes in here are going to be super familiar if you go to Ross often, but for the most part, you know, they were deeply discounted, so I still had to take a shot on these. Here we got some more shoes against this wall. Some of my favorite picks right here are these Ultra Boosts. These were $29.99. I believe at first they were $49.99. So when I seen them for $49, they definitely wasn't worth it at that time. They were a little too pricey. But for $29.99, I was able to grab up 2 pairs. Then we got some Hyper Dunks right here. I believe these are the size 13. So it's definitely not one of those huge like size 20 and size 22s that might sit forever. Since that's a size 13, that might sell a lot faster, and I might get about 60 bucks for those, and I think I spent $10. Now moving right along to this side of the house, we got some more shoes from Marshalls. Some of these shoes I had ordered from Poshmark. I was showing you guys some of those in a previous video. These Zoom Cage 2 should sell for about anywhere between 70 and 80 bucks. We got some more New Balances from Marshalls. I think I spent, let's check the tag, 13 bucks on these. These should sell for about maybe 45 to 50. Not a ton of profit on some of these shoes, but since when you're dealing with so much volume, it makes perfect sense to me to just go ahead and do that. Same thing for these. I grabbed a bunch of different sizes in these. These were only 16 bucks, and those were selling for at least $60 on eBay all day long. And then we have some more Vans, some more random shoes that I got from Nordstrom Rack. And then we got some more shoes that's going to be going through the pipeline, getting photographed later on today. And as you guys remember, I was picking up some of these Vapor Max before, and they were sitting. I'm not gonna lie, I got some comments from people telling me that these were gonna sit because they were flooded, and I sold out of the ones that I actually had, and then I found another pair, and these were actually deeply discounted as well. I think I only spent $29.99 for these, so that was definitely a steal. Also got some more cleats just for a quick example. These were $3.99. Some more Mike Trout cleats, $2.99. So whenever baseball season gets started, I'm gonna have some decent cleats and some decent sizes. So we got a ton of different shoes. Some are a lot more high end than others. Some of these New Balances here, 24 bucks. These New Balance should sell, I'm thinking, somewhere between $70 and $80. I don't have the box for those, but we're still gonna make it do what it do. But overall, a ton of shoes here. I don't know how I'm gonna take a thumbnail picture for these, but we got well over 100 pairs of shoes here. So let me just quickly give you guys some tips on how you guys can kind of capitalize when stores open up in your area. So the first thing what you're going to want to do once the stores start to open up, you want to be one of either the first, maybe the second, but at the bare minimum, you want to be that third person in line, because when I tell you the lines for Ross in my area was insane. It literally wrapped around the building. I believe the stores opened up at 10 o'clock, and when I got outside, I got in line at about maybe 9:15, and there was about 4 or 5 people ahead of me. And as soon as I got in there, it was all women, and they all rushed to the handbags. I'm pretty sure it might have been some resellers, or it might have just been some people really interested in the handbags. But for me, I grabbed the shopping cart. He just started throwing a bunch of shoes in my cart, and I was actually the first person in line, so it kind of just streamlined my whole experience being in Ross. Being one of the first people in the store, one of the first people in the line, I grabbed all the good deals, threw them all in the cart, and I spent a decent amount of money. I'm not gonna lie, I spent close to about $3,000 or $4,000 over the past couple of days, but this type of stuff will easily sell. Some might sell a lot faster than others, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going to easily recoup that money and make a ton of profit on top. So first thing is, like I said, you want to make sure that you're getting there super early, and you want to just, I'm not going to say camp out, but if the store's open at 10, you want to make sure that you're in line at least at 9 o'clock, just so that you're there before the flood. Because when I started hitting up a bunch of different Ross locations, all of those Ross locations were just as packed at 2 and 3 o'clock. The lines were still wrapped around the store, and then they started letting people in slowly, 5 at a time, 2 at a time. So if you're a reseller, you got to be there super early, especially when it comes to places like Ross and Marshalls, because once those items are gone, we're not exactly sure when they're actually going to restock. So keep that in mind as well. Next big tip that I have for you guys, and this is something I was doing during the quarantine, I was just constantly checking my Googles, constantly calling different stores. I called Marshalls in Burlington like 5 or 6 times previously to them opening, just to make sure that I knew exactly what day they would open. And with Burlington, I did that same thing, waited in line early, and I was able to grab up some deals. Same thing with Marshalls. The very first day, I was in there grabbing up all of the steals. And for a lot of people, thankfully, they just wasn't able to go in there. Some people were a little nervous about shopping, but for me, I just wanted to get in and get out, and I was able to grab up a ton of shoes. So if you're in a market right now and some of the stores are still closed, you might just want to continuously call, make sure that you know the exact date and time that they're going to open up. That way you can just stay ahead of the game, because as you guys know, reselling is super competitive. No matter what city you're in, there's always going to be somebody like myself that's going to go into a store and spend a ton of money, fill up a ton of shopping carts, and just buy up all of the inventory. So keep that in mind. You just want to make sure that you get there as early as possible. That way you can grab up some of the best deals. And last but not least, as a tip for you guys, just as somewhat of a pro tip, sometimes when you're buying a bunch of these type of stuff, especially from places like Nordstrom Rack, what you're going to want to do is that if at very least you want to try to get ahead of the flood, because certain stores are going to have a lot of the same product when they open up across the country. So you might just want to do some research, take your time, think about it a little more, because a lot of these shoes are going to be flooded. Thankfully for me, in my area, a lot of these shoes that were in Ross and in Marshalls, I already seen a ton of these shoes, so I was kind of familiar with it, and previously they just wasn't priced right enough for me to make a decent profit. but with the additional discount I grabbed up all of them. So keep that in mind. When you're checking the comps, just because something may have sold for $100, you know, 3 or 4 months ago before quarantine hit, now you might want to really just focus on the last 10 to 15 days in terms of sales, because the market for a lot of these shoes are going to be flooded. You know, when you just do your research, go in confidently, and of course you're still going to make some money. At the end of the day, just be prepared to expect lower profit margins when some of these other markets start to open up. Thankfully, Arizona was one of the first markets to open up, so I just really took advantage of it. But you just want to keep in mind that I'm pretty sure once New York opens up, the flood is going to be insane for a lot of these stuff. But also keep in mind that I was telling you guys from that live video, there's so many people out here right now that's making more money on unemployment than they were making at their previous job, and so many people with these stimulus checks that just can't wait to spend money. So the economy is going to continue to grow. The economy is going to pick back up very, very quickly, and as long as we're out there doing what we need to do, I think we'll all do just fine in terms of reselling. So that's all the tips I got for you guys today. And if you guys got any comments, any questions, drop them in the comment section. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
You know what I'm on. Stop with the and give me the strong. Hey, let's go. First back in the day, and so I can't complain. For all the times I pray carnivores don't come take. Cause it's poppin' up opportunists, I can't salute it. They raising red flags instead of raising solutions. I'm trying to do what's best for me. Okay, right hand's on the wall because it's destiny. First time I own, but right hand man ain't nothing left for me. I left him, see, you can't hold me back like elementary. What's meant for me